For the captain of Team USA, Auston Matthews, where does he slot in terms of players feeling pressure and expectations coming into this tournament?
I think he's at the top of the list. I really do. I think for a number of reasons. What you just said about the history of USA Hockey, like they have to pounce. They believe in their program. They're a great program. They're a great team. They should have gold medal ambitions, right? They had championship ambition at the Four Nations face-off, and they got all the way to overtime, and they almost got it done.
The road to Olympic gold in Milano Cortina will not be easy. Two hockey giants, Canada and the United States, are bringing superstar talent, heavy pressure, and huge expectations. But this tournament may come down to just two names, Cale Makar and Auston Matthews. One controls the ice from the blue line. The other carries a nation's hopes on his stick. As the Milano Cortina Winter Olympics get closer, the spotlight is shining bright on men's hockey. Fans are excited because this is best on best hockey, the world's top NHL stars playing for their countries. For Canada and Team USA, the stakes feel even higher. Both teams are loaded with talent, but their paths to gold may depend on very different X factors.
Studded talent, but there's got to be one player, Brian, you have in mind who you feel will be the most important for Canada as we get set to start this Olympic tournament on Thursday.
Yeah, I think it's Cale Makar. I do. I think it's Cale Makar, and I think it's Makar by a landslide, Jay. I really do. And I know people are going to look to the goaltending, and I understand that. It's a prominent position. They still have to figure out exactly who that guy's going to be. And I know McDavid's important, and McKinnon's important, and obviously the captain, Sidney Crosby. But I think the drop-off from Cale Makar to whoever you believe is the second best, most impactful defenseman on this team is a massive discrepancy. Much more of a discrepancy between McDavid and McKinnon.
For Team Canada, one player stands above the rest in importance, and it's not Connor McDavid or Sidney Crosby. The biggest difference maker could be defenseman Cale Makar. That might sound surprising because Canada has so many superstar forwards. But hockey is not just about scoring. It's about controlling the whole game, offense, defense, and transition. That's where Makar becomes priceless. Analyst Brian Hayes calls Makar Canada's most important player because of what he calls the gap theory. This means the talent drop between Makar and the next Canadian defenseman is much bigger than the gap at forward positions. If McDavid has a quiet game, Nathan McKinnon can step up. If Crosby slows down, other elite centers can fill minutes. But on defense, there is no true replacement for Makar's skill set. Makar does everything at an elite level. He skates like a forward, defends like a veteran shutdown player, and runs the power play with calm control. He moves the puck out of danger faster than almost anyone in the world. That ability helps Canada spend less time defending and more time attacking. In Olympic hockey, where games are tight and mistakes matter, that puck movement is gold. Because of his value, experts believe Makar could play huge minutes, maybe even 30 minutes in a gold medal game. That's half the game. Very few players can handle that load without breaking down. But Makar's conditioning, hockey IQ, and skating allow coaches to trust him in every situation, even strength, power play, and penalty kill. Health, however, is the one shadow hanging over Canada. Makar previously missed the Four Nations face-off due to injury. That absence showed how vulnerable Canada can look without him. Their breakouts were slower. Defensive coverage looked shakier. If Canada wants Olympic gold, they likely need Makar healthy from start to finish. Without him, their championship odds drop fast. While Canada's pressure sits on one defenseman, Team USA's pressure centers on one forward, Captain Auston Matthews. This tournament could define Matthews' legacy. Team USA has not won Olympic gold in the NHL best-on-best era, which began in 1998. That drought hangs heavy over American hockey. Many believe this current roster is the strongest the US has ever iced. Deep, fast, and skilled at every position. Because Matthews is the captain and biggest superstar, the spotlight burns hottest on him. He will be expected to score in big moments, lead emotionally, and deliver when games are on the line. That's where the pressure builds. Because fair or not, Matthews carries a reputation for not always being clutch in the biggest games. If the US falls short, especially if Matthews struggles offensively, the criticism will be loud. Fair or unfair, captains carry the emotional weight of wins and losses. chances. That's the burden of leadership. Matthews isn't just playing for medals, he's playing for legacy. What makes this Canada versus USA storyline so compelling is the contrast in pressure points. Canada's hopes may rest on a defenseman controlling the entire flow of the game. Their success depends on structure, transition, and blue line dominance through Makar. The United States' hopes may rest on a goal scorer delivering signature moments. Their success could hinge on Matthews finishing chances and leading the offense when it matters most. It's control versus clutch, structure versus scoring, blue line versus goal line. And when these teams collide, those storylines will crash together on the ice. Olympic hockey always creates heroes. Sometimes it's expected stars, sometimes it's unlikely names. But heading into Milano Cortina, two players sit closest to the pressure spotlight. If Cale Makar dominates minutes, drives possession, and shuts down opposing attacks, Canada's gold path becomes clear. If Auston Matthews scores timely goals, leads confidently, and breaks America's gold drought, he changes his career narrative forever. That's why this Olympic tournament feels so massive. Not just for nations, but for legacies. Because in the end, gold medals don't just crown teams, they define players.
Is Team USA, and I think they've got the easiest group. Easily the easiest group. And so they might be a sleeper to be the #1 seed in the tournament because of it. Like, sure. It's a really, really easy go.
This is the quiet reality of the 2026 Winter Olympics. Team USA has entered the tournament with less fanfare than Canada, and that has shaped early perception. They are being viewed as secondary contenders, but depth, defensive mobility, and prime age production suggest the competitive balance may be closer than assumed. And once the roster is examined closely, it becomes clear Team USA is far better than most people think. The idea that the United States enters Milan as a step behind is rooted more in reputation than structure. Canada carries historical gold medals and generational name. That history dominates coverage. Yet Olympic tournaments are not decided by legacy. They are decided defines the American approach. USA Hockey named Auston Matthews as captain for the Milano Cortina game. Charlie McAvoy and Matthew Tkachuk were selected as alternate captain. This structure mirrors the leadership group deployed in recent international competition. There was no overhaul following their most recent international loss. No reactionary shift in identity. The same core remains intact. Matthews enters the Olympics in his prime years. In recent NHL seasons, he recorded a 60-goal campaign and consistently ranked among league leaders in shot generation and two-way impact. His usage extends beyond scoring. He handles defensive zone deployments, late-game shifts, and matchup responsibilities against elite centers. The captaincy formalizes his role as a central pillar of the roster. The most recent international comparison between the United States and Canada came in the Four Nations face-off final. Canada won 3-2 in overtime. The difference was a single goal beyond regulation. The United States did not surrender control of the game. It did not concede structurally. It pushed the tournament favorite into sudden death. Over time, margins reflect parity. The result demonstrated that the gap between these two rosters is narrow. One defensive read, one power play sequence, one bounce separated the teams. The structural framework held. Defensive construction may be the most underappreciated advantage on this roster. Quinn Hughes, Adam Fox, and Charlie McAvoy anchor a blue line built for modern international play. Hughes and Fox have each produced elite offensive numbers from the defensive position in recent NHL seasons. Both have been finalists for the Norris Trophy. McAvoy provides physicality, defensive reliability, and penalty kill deployment against top line. International hockey rewards defensemen who retrieve pucks efficiently and exit the zone under pressure. Larger ice surfaces create more lateral space. Teams that move the puck cleanly reduce extended defensive zone time. The American defensive core is constructed around mobility and transition speed. Depth extends through all three defensive pairings. No single pairing carries disproportionate responsibility. Each unit can handle offensive zone activation and defensive zone containment. In condensed tournaments, this reduces fatigue and limits matchup exposure. Goaltending may represent the clearest measurable advantage. Compared to the ongoing debate surrounding Canada's crease, the United States enters the Olympics with stronger recent NHL regular season metrics among its projected starters. American goaltenders have posted higher save percentages and more consistent performance trends in recent seasons. Stability in the crease removes distraction. Olympic tournaments hinge on limited game, clear deployment hierarchy reduces mid-event uncertainty. The United States does not enter Milan facing questions about its starting goaltender. Preparation remains uninterrupted. No single American line carries the burden of generating offense alone. Deployment flexibility allows the coaching staff to maintain pace across 4 lines. Balanced usage reduces fatigue entering elimination round. The Olympic format amplifies these structural traits. NHL participation returns after a 12-year absence. Many players across all nations are making Olympic debuts. Prior Olympic experience is less concentrated than in previous eras. Current roster construction matters more than historical medal counts. Group stage play precedes elimination round. Seeding influences quarterfinal matchups. The United States roster is built to sustain performance across stylistic variation. Defensive mobility supports adjustments against heavier forechecking teams. Forward speed pressures slower defensive units. Special teams add another layer of structural strength. Mobile defensemen facilitate lateral puck movement on the power play. Penalty kill units include forwards accustomed to defensive zone responsibility in NHL competition. International rules place emphasis on discipline. Special teams efficiency often determines knockout outcome. Public framing often emphasizes Canada's generational star power. That emphasis can obscure structural parity. The United States does not rely solely on individual brilliance. It operates through balance, mobility, and deployment clarity. The overtime result at 4 nations underscored how thin margins can be at the international level. A single possession can decide elimination game. The United States demonstrated it operates within that margin consistently. This Olympic cycle presents a new environment. NHL players return after a prolonged absence. Chemistry must develop quickly. Coaching continuity and defined leadership become central. The United States enters Milan without structural uncertainty. The narrative may continue to position the United States as secondary. That narrative is rooted in historical memory. The measurable components of this roster suggest something closer to equivalence. Execution will determine outcomes once competition begins. Leadership is established. Defensive mobility is among the strongest in the field. Goaltending metrics compare favorably. Prime age production aligns with tournament demand. Public perception may take time to adjust. The structure is already in place.
Good luck, Team Canada. You've earned this moment. After long days and late nights, through discipline, sacrifice, and relentless effort, you're ready to compete at the highest level.
The wait is over. The biggest rivalry in hockey has reached the Olympic stage once again. Team Canada and Team USA arrive in Milan with
Usually look like, but nothing set in stone yet.
Well, for me, it's Celebrini, McDavid, Wilson. I love that. I think that that's a really good line. I saw how they come together there. And the reason McDavid, who's going to have the biggest spotlight on him, he's going to shoulder a lot of the responsibility for this team, as he should, and he's ready to do. But Tommy Wilson on that right side of him.
The 2026 Winter Olympics in Milano Cortina mark a major return for international hockey. For the first time since 2014, NHL players are competing in the Olympic Games. The league paused its season to allow full participation. This decision changed the level of competition immediately. Canada arrived with a roster built from elite NHL talent, international experience, and Olympic success. Team Canada officially named its men's Olympic roster on December 31st, 2025. The team includes 25 players, all with professional experience. The roster was selected by Hockey Canada after months of evaluation. The group combines veteran leadership, playoff-tested stars, and players with past international success. Sidney Crosby was named captain of Team Canada. The decision was announced before the team traveled to Milan. Crosby has won 2 Olympic gold medals in 2010 and 2014. He scored the overtime goal that decided the gold medal game at the 2010 Vancouver Olympics. His Olympic experience spans more than a decade. Canada's leadership group also includes alternate captains drawn from top NHL teams. These players have logged hundreds of playoff games. Several have worn the maple leaf in world championships and best-on-best tournaments. This structure gives Canada stability on the ice and clarity in decision-making during high-pressure moments. The Canadian roster is built around depth. Every line includes players who contribute contribute at both ends of the ice. Defense pairs include puck-moving defensemen and physical shutdown players. Goaltending selections were based on recent NHL performance and international results. Hockey Canada confirmed that balance and consistency guided the final selections. Team USA also finalized its roster ahead of the games. USA Hockey selected a mix of veteran NHL players and younger skaters with recent international experience. The American roster emphasizes speed and transition play. Several players come from teams known for fast-paced systems in the NHL. Despite the strength of the U.S. lineup, Canada enters the matchup with historical advantage. Canada and the United States have faced each other multiple times in Olympic men's hockey. Canada won the gold medal game in 2010 and defeated the United States in the semifinals in 2014. Those games were decided by narrow margins. The Olympic schedule placed Canada and the United States in the same preliminary round group. This guarantees a group stage meeting before the knockout rounds. Group placement affects seeding and quarterfinal matchups. A win provides a measurable advantage in the tournament structure. Team Canada arrived in Milan following the NHL Olympic break. Players traveled within days of their last league game. Practices were held at Santa Giulia Arena. Coaching staff focused on adapting to international ice size and IIHF rule. These rules differ from the NHL in areas such as icing, overtime, and physical play. Canada's coaching staff, led by John Cooper, set clear expectations before the tournament. Cooper stated publicly that the goal was a gold medal. The message reflected Canada's approach to Olympic hockey. Performance standards were defined before the first practice. In the lead-up to the Olympic group stage meeting, players from both sides addressed the rivalry. The statement was published in international coverage ahead of the game. Canada's preparation emphasized discipline and structure. Practices focused on special teams, execution, and defensive zone coverage. Coaching staff monitored player workload due to the quick transition from NHL play to Olympic competition. The Canadian roster includes multiple players with over 100 NHL playoff games. Several have won Stanley Cups. This experience is critical in short tournaments where mistakes carry immediate consequences. Team USA's roster includes players who recently competed in IIHF World Championships. USA Hockey stated that roster balance and defensive depth were priorities. Their preparation focused on speed through the neutral zone and quick puck movement. Olympic group standings are decided by points, goal differential, and head-to-head results. The Canada-USA game directly affects these metrics. A rating of the matchup adds pressure. The game takes place early in the tournament, shortly after both teams' opening win. Analysts noted that early results often influence confidence and tactical adjustments in later rounds. Broadcasters projected increased viewership based on previous Olympic meetings. Security and staffing were increased for the game due to expected attendance and media presence. Olympic officials confirmed additional measures for high-profile rivalry matchups. Statistical tracking after the opening games showed Canada near the top of the tournament in shots allowed and face-off percentage. These metrics were released in official Olympic summaries. Canada's roster stability contrasts with the rapid pace of Olympic scheduling. With lines and pairings established early, the team minimized experimentation. This approach reflected confidence in roster selection. The Canada-USA Olympic matchup does not decide a medal. It does not eliminate either team. It shapes the path forward. It defines standing, seeding, and momentum as the tournament progresses. For Team Canada, the objective remains unchanged. Preparation, depth, leadership, and execution guide every decision as the rivalry resumes on Olympic ice in Milan.
On this Sunday night, after a 12-year break, NHL players return to the Olympics.
Excited to be here, definitely.
With Olympic gold on the line, Sidney Crosby is named Team Canada captain.
Two captains were chosen, and Olympic hockey changed instantly. One decision came from the United States. The other came from Canada. NHL players are back after 12 years away, and leadership is now locked in. What happens next will shape every game, every matchup, and every medal race that follows. The Olympic men's ice hockey tournament in Milan entered a new phase after leadership announcements from the two most watched teams. The United States named Auston Matthews as captain. Canada named Sidney Crosby. Both decisions were confirmed by national federations and reported by Reuters. The appointments came days before competition began, with NHL players returning to the Olympics for the first time since 2014, and attention quickly followed. USA Hockey announced that Matthews will lead the American roster at the Milano Cortina 2026 Winter Games. The decision kept the same leadership group used during the Four Nations Face-Off tournament earlier this year. Charlie McAvoy and Matthew Tkachuk were also named All-Toronto Maple Leafs. Before leaving for Olympic duty, he recorded 26 goals and 22 assists in 51 NHL games this season. USA Hockey confirmed that this will be Matthews' first Olympic appearance as team captain. Team officials stated that the leadership group was selected based on previous international experience and recent tournament role, and the announcement came shortly after the team arrived in Milan. The United States held its first on-ice practice at the Santa Giulia Arena, the primary venue for the men's tournament. According to tournament schedules released by Olympic organizers, Team USA will open group play against Latvia. Practices were held with full NHL participation, marking the league's official return to Olympic competition after a 12-year absence. On the same day, Hockey Canada confirmed its captain. Sidney Crosby was named to lead the Canadian men's team. Crosby is 38 years old and plays center for the Pittsburgh Penguins. This will be his third Olympic game. He previously captained Canada at the 2014 Winter Olympics.